Lakshmi. Not sure about others. I think Rajesh will join. And we discussed about Redshift, right? Okay, you got a understanding of what is Redshift and why we need to go for Redshift, right? In general. So Redshift is a like a database. We can say a cloud database which Amazon is offering. And let me share my screen. Just to recap what we discussed in the previous class. So Redshift is a like a cloud database which will help us to store the data which is in petabytes. So if your data volume is very high, then only we need to go and opt Redshift, because normal traditional data like if it is in terabytes also it's not feasible to go with Redshift. Redshift is always suitable for the data volume will be very high. And also this will help us to store the data in the form of a structured format which is in rows and columns, and we need to follow this particular like scenarios where we will have a high demand for like a high volume of data, and Redshift will support $1,000 per terabyte per year, and where you can go and opt it based on your requirement, and it will decrease if you go by year. If you go for 3 years, it will be a little bit lesser. If you go by 2 years, it is compared to 1 year. It will be like there will be some discount which they are offering. So you need to go according to that. And just to understand, Redshift is a relational data warehouse which will suitable for massive parallel processing of petabytes of data, that too with scalability, fully managed by Amazon Redshift team, and supports HDD and SSD platforms. And the price wise, if you see $1,000 per terabyte per year, and which we can start with 25 cents per hour, and followed by you can go and utilize it according to our requirement. And these are all the companies which we discussed already who are already using Redshift in their projects, including Amazon. All these companies are already experiencing the benefits of Redshift in the cloud environment. And use case also we discussed about, like most of the companies like Docomo and Scholastic and Nasdaq, these companies already using Redshift, and they migrate to Redshift to build their or migrate their traditional data warehouse to cloud data warehouse. So they have the requirement of like generating business reports, and applying like security and compliance, and bulk loads and bulk updates, and also like they want to build advanced pipelines. So this use case is suitable for all these three, and every client here, they are looking for a easy migration where they want to lift and shift. They want to lift and shift their existing traditional data warehouse from on-premise to cloud. Also want to go with the security and compliance, and they want to experience the end-to-end encryption. So Redshift has an option to even select the encryption, on where we can go and add the data encryption and the compliance for your data. And also it comes with a large ecosystem where you can integrate with other like tools like Athena. I can easily integrate. I can integrate with QuickSight. I can integrate, and there are so many options which Redshift is allowing us. But the requirement for using Redshift is we need to create a Redshift cluster, and then we need to start using it. Without a cluster, we cannot use or run any queries on the Redshift environment. First, we need to create a Redshift cluster, and once my cluster is ready, then I can go and start connecting to the databases, and we can create a new database also. And you need to start using the database of Redshift like a normal traditional database, and we can start using it and build your like databases and manage them. And these are some of the use cases which we already discussed. Like we discussed about the data warehousing and the log analysis. So log analysis is basically is one of the challenging data because the manufacturing companies majorly they do generate high volume of IoT sensor data where they will go and generate a continuous IoT messages. And if you want to go and manage the data, like for example, yeah, Rajesh, anything else? Asking anything, Rajesh?
No, Sri, I think I did not mute. Yeah, sorry for that.
Okay, so if you go and see majority of the companies, like for example, Pinterest is basically they want to go and leverage the cloud computing capability of Redshift, and they want to go and maintain their interactive data analysis and recommendation engines for their website and applications. Also, they want to go and experience the near real-time data. They want to experience and provide the near real-time data to the customers. Plus, they also want to process the data in a massive parallel way, where the normal digital databases may require additional infrastructure to maintain this kind of processing. And you need to buy additional infrastructure like storage and compute. All these are very, very important because we cannot go and execute the queries faster without them. And also, you cannot go on parallel like bulk loading and all not possible with like normal traditional databases because they need high computing of resources. And also, like the volume of data volume, you go and see analyzing data volume with high like data is not easy for traditional databases because they go and give us more cost. And we if at all you want to reduce the cost, one of the best choices is Redshift because it is very cheap compared to other like cloud databases like Snowflake and BigQuery and this kind of databases. We also have like Synapse Analytics also. All these are competitors. So if at all you want to go with a less cost and a fast data like extraction with a near real time like data processing, Redshift is also one of the choice for this kind of use cases. And the next one is like business applications. Like for example, if you go to and see majority of the service-based companies like Infosys or Accenture or Amplitude, these companies have their own like services where they want to go and experience the service-oriented architecture and where they want to plug and play their pipelines. And they want to go and integrate with other AWS services. For example, I want to integrate AWS Redshift and Athena, or Redshift plus DynamoDB, or Redshift plus Glue. So these kind of integrations are very, very easy in Redshift. And also pay as you go. This is also one of the like feature every enterprise companies are looking for nowadays. They want to use it and they want to experience how good it is, and then they want to pay. So pay-as-you-go will allow you to add additional clusters as needed and release them if they are not needed. So this can be done very easily. I can easily go and manipulate your cluster and add like resources, and I can release resources also. Because if you go and see majority of the big data projects, they who are maintaining the big data warehouses, they will have a separate data marts also. So you need to segregate. And fully managed is another important feature which companies are looking for, like where we want a solution which can help us to provision take a backup, can upgrade and provide security and compression. All should come in a single service. That is how every company is looking for nowadays. So here Redshift is one of the solution for the same. And coming to architecture side, so architecture is basically like in every Redshift cluster will have a one leader node, multiple compute nodes. A leader node is basically the node that is responsible for managing the compute nodes. The responsibilities of a leader node is like this is the single point of contact for any SQL query, like endpoint, and it will keep the metadata with like also like it will go and allow to like manage the metadata and optimize the query plan and coordinate the query execution with compute nodes, and these are the responsibilities of a leader node who will direct the compute nodes. And compute nodes are the actual worker nodes who will go and do the actual execution of the query according to the query plan generated by leader node. And compute nodes will have a local column storage, and a compute node is going to help us to run the queries or execute the queries all in parallel, and also it will also allow us to load the data and parallelly, and or it can be stored even or loaded even in the distributed manner. And also backups and restores also can be done for the compute nodes if needed, and resizing of the number of nodes also can be done if needed. So most of the Redshift cluster, you see, they will start, few people usually will start with 25 cents per hour, and then we can go up to 2 petabytes. 2 petabytes is the size where we can go, because every Redshift cluster can be used if my data volume is very high in petabytes to zettabytes. Always better to go with the Redshift as a solution. And also there are options available. If at all I don't want in petabytes, I can also go and opt the SSD option of Redshift cluster, which can help us to scale up to in terabytes. And if you want to experience like high HDD kind of high definition and data definition experience features, you need to go and use the DS2 type, where you can experience up to 2 terabytes to 2 petabytes. So based on your data volume, you need to select either DC1 or DS2, and according to that, your data will be processed by Redshift cluster. And also coming to benefits wise, you see, and Amazon Redshift is very faster compared to other cloud data warehouses, because it uses a column oriented storage, and data compression will be done automatically, and also direct attached to storage. So storage is directly attached to the Redshift cluster, and large data block size it will maintain, so that your data retrieval will be very fast. So that is one of the key benefit with Redshift cluster. Even if you want to analyze your compression, you have a command where you can analyze the compression listing and see which columns it is encoding, and you can also clearly see what kind of encoding it is using. By every table you can see that. And apart from that, parallel and distributed query execution will happen, because compute nodes, you can see here, one leader node will manage multiple compute nodes, and every compute node is responsible for executing the query according to the query plan generated by the leader node. So leader node is responsible for managing the metadata and generating query plan and all. So it will try to submit the queries to the compute nodes to execute them, and return the results back to the leader node, where leader node is going to submit them to the user who requested that. So parallelly and distributed manner, you can execute the queries. You can load the data parallelly and distributed manner. You can export the data. You can take a backup. You can restore it if needed, and also you can resize if needed. So most of these activities are making Redshift to run faster and give the solution faster. And also most of the hardware or infrastructure which Redshift will go and use are optimized for IO intensive workloads, and also enhanced networking also available to pass the minimum 1 million packets per second per node in the network, where it can go and send. And the choice of storage type is there, and instance size where you can go and select, and a regular auto patches and upgrades will happen to improve the Redshift performance by the Amazon Redshift team. And all these companies, they are already experienced the Redshift fastness by leveraging and they so for example, if you look at Cisco, they compared Redshift with Snowflake and BigQuery. So Redshift is offered them to the performance is better than Snowflake and BigQuery. And every customer here, they experienced Redshift as a better choice compared to other cloud databases. And also like I'll say this PPT, you can just go through it. And also like the life of the query. So what is the life of the query means? The query which we submit from any SQL client to Redshift cluster, that will be generated by the query plan, and query plan will be generated by leader node. And for every query to generate a query plan, and every query it will go submit to the compute node and get the results back and submit the results back to the client who requested that particular query. And there are some query monitoring tools which we can use, like where that query monitoring tools will allow us to like increase the query speed. Like there are some predicates available where you can go and use those predicates and increase the query execution speed. And Redshift is offering the like predicates to increase the like execution speed of the fully written queries also. And there are so many features available in Redshift, where some of the features will come on the administration side and some will come on the development side. And these are all the
Srini, what is hope in previous slide
very
here? Interactive
ad hoc.
query.
Interactive query means which we go and run the queries manually. Manually, we can go and execute the queries by using the query editor. And ad hoc queries, like we will go and automate some of the queries on ad hoc basis will receive. For example, interactive query queues means like where your query execution time will be in some range, and the data volume also like not like normal queries. If you see here, we are limiting in the sense we are reducing the number of rows. So for this particular query monitoring tools will help you to reduce your query execution speed. Sorry, response time. I mean, it will increase the execution speed according to your requirement. You need to use this particular query monitoring tools. For example, if you are dealing with a limited number of rows, then you need to use this particular option. And if at all you want to go on ad hoc basis, you execute your queries once in a while, then use all these particular options, like these conditions are important to go and configure. And interactive queries are like where you go and execute and see the result immediately. We can go and run the queries from the query editor also. So if at all you want to go and experience such kind of query monitoring and all, you need to use the like this particular configurations are important, and which we need to go and configure and see the response time, and which one is suitable for your requirement. You need to select appropriately. But all these are not together people use. So based on the requirement, this particular rules will vary project to project. So ad hoc means nothing but like for heavy queries we use ad hoc is the rule, and interactive is basically for any query that is like interactive. We are going to execute and see the results immediately. Then we use interactive, and max lines is basically used when we want to limit the number of rows. So if I add this, it will limit the number of rows to 50,000 by default. We do not even need to mention. It is more than 50,000, greater than 50,000, we are saying abort. So we don't want to go and get the results. No need to touch the cluster at all. Are you getting? The number of rows, if you go and select more than like 50,000, I don't want to go and execute the query. And that is what it is going to happen. And also these options, whatever you see here, if your queries are very, very huge, and where they are generating a huge amount of data, then you need to control that by using these particular options. The query execution time, it is more than like 120, and query CPU time is greater than 3000, or query blocks read is like more than 18,000. If all these conditions are met, you can go and see like how to go and check these ad hoc queries, and sometimes you will execute the queries like this. So based on your requirement, you need to change these parameters also. But interactive queries are majorly like where you go and execute the queries on fly and you'll see the data immediately. But this can be some scheduled queries, ad hoc queries, where occasionally we'll run these queries and according to the client requirement, you may pull the data and generate the data. Okay.
Okay, then what is that end of the query? One is log and one is hope, right? What it will do?
So it is basically just to understand HOP we are giving here. And
Okay.
and here abort means I want to abort. So abort in the sense it will be automatically cancel the query. We are saying that it is greater than 50,000 rows. We are limiting the number of rows to return to the client. Return rows greater than 50,000. I want to abort. The client cannot see the data. So these are important because if you keep on running the queries, what happens? Your compute will be consumed, right? Yes or no?
Yeah. Yeah.
To limit the number of rows, you are using this particular max lines option, and to give the experience to the client, so the client will not go and get the results if they go with more than 50,000 rows and all. So we can go and control that. And also like when you go to like any heavy queries, like heavy queries in the sense very bigger queries. So when you deal with any bigger queries, you need to go with the query execution time also may increase, right? For
Yeah.
example. So for such kind of queries, you need to have some control also. I cannot go on beyond certain limit, right? If you go according to the client requirement and all, your compute may also increase. So you also need to control. If any heavy queries are running, you should have some conditions where the query should meet. So these are all the common use cases every like AWS data engineer will use when they go and run their SQL queries in the Redshift environment. And sometimes what happens, if, for example, I am my QuickSight dashboard may link to like to a Redshift database. The QuickSight dashboard may require some of the data, but what happens sometimes the dashboard may not get data because of this particular limitations also. So then you need to see how to change if needed. That also sometimes will happen. Clear?
Yes, Srini.
Yeah. So most of the times as a like AWS data engineer, we need to find out which are the common commonly used queries and how to apply this to the your queries. You need to go and decide before you are like trying to use all these options, because most of the query monitoring tools, whatever you see here, these are only few. There are other rules also available. Whatever you see here, these are very like high level. I'm showing, though there are some rules available for other activities also, but I'll share them anyway. Okay.
Okay.
Because at cluster level also we can configure. This is at query level only. So there are some cluster level where you can go and where you can restrict the number of queries, where Redshift can cluster can handle. All this can also can be controlled. So we can go and see like how to go and manage this according to our requirement, and we need to see that. Just give me a minute. Okay. And this is where you need to understand about the pricing also. Redshift is not that much expensive, but you also need to see like based on your query requirement, you need to go and select the appropriate size also here. So because most of the projects will have a like a demand of the clusters should be continuously running. It doesn't mean that every time the cluster also need to be continuously execute or run. If my queries are not like running, we can go and pass the cluster for some time and we can restart the cluster also. That also possible. So according to our requirement only, we need to go and see like how can we go and create the cluster and what size is required and what is the pricing we have to like we need to have a like agreement for what type of Redshift cluster we need, and what is the plan also you have to decide. The 1 year reservation or 3 year reservation, this also you have to decide, because the number of nodes into price by per hour only they will charge you. So leader node does not have any charge, but compute nodes you need to pay. But the compute number of compute nodes into price per hour only they will charge you. So there will be no upfront cost, and all will be pay as you go, because you have to use and pay. But you need to pay for all compute nodes, so you need to be very careful while selecting the number of compute nodes, and leader node will not have any charge. So you need to be like select the appropriate number of compute nodes which are required for your project. And continuous incremental backups will happen in the background, because most of the data which you are going to store in Redshift database, that will be automatically, the team will take the backup of your data in different regions, because we should not experience any downtime. So what the teams will do, Amazon team will do, they will keep the multiple copies within the cluster, and also the incremental continuous incremental backups will happen on S3 bucket, and also the continuous and incremental backup will happen even across the regions, not in a single region. And where you can go and see the region 1 is down, it will go to region 2. Region 2 is down, it will go and use the region 1. So according to your requirement, the compute nodes will go and connect to a respective region, and it will pull the data based on your requirement. And also, like, it is fully managed, right? So fully managed means who will take care of this? The Amazon Redshift team. So they are responsible for how to manage this entire Redshift cluster. We are going to create and use it, and any challenges will happen, or any time my cluster is not working up to the mark. There might be disk failure, there can be node failures, or sometimes network failures, and sometimes what will happen, like availability zone where your data is sitting also may be down. So all these fall under the fault tolerance. So this will be taken care by the Amazon team. We are not going to take any responsibility on that. So fault tolerance also will be taken care by the Amazon Redshift team only. We are not going to do anything. So most of the, like as you see, node failure will happen in certain cases where your mission is down. So in case it is down, you definitely need to go and submit the query. And when you submit the query, the leader node is going to cross check which compute node is available, and according to the compute node, it will submit the query and it will get the results back. If one node is down, it will go with another node. So that is the reason the data will be replicated across the compute nodes to retrieve the data. Just 1 minute. Okay. So the fault tolerance, right? What is fault tolerance? Fault tolerance means making the data available without any downtime. Whenever a failure is detected here, it will automatically move to the other compute node. That right? Both of you. What is fault tolerance? Rajesh?
Yes.
So whenever a particular node is down, it has to go to the next node to get the data, because these nodes are distributed. The data will be distributed across the nodes, and also not only nodes, across the regions also, different regions. So that will be taken care by the Amazon team itself, because it is fully managed by them. So whenever a particular node is down, you need not even worry. The clear node will go will know which node is available, and it will go and submit the request to the corresponding compute nodes, and it will ignore the node that is down. So no fault tolerance will be available. And any client, so here client in the sense, it can be directly from Redshift SQL editor, or it can be from a external SQL clients also. Like I can use a DB Weaver client, or I can use like different SQL clients available where I can go and connect to Redshift from the outside also. But when you want to connect from the outside, while creating the cluster, you need to clearly make the cluster publicly accessible to the people who are going to like access that from outside of the AWS environment. So there are some challenges when you are going to access this particular Redshift cluster. If you go to Redshift environment, which I already submitted one Redshift cluster, here I created one cluster where you can see is available already. So to create a cluster, you need to go to the Redshift dashboard. In the Redshift dashboard, you will have an option to create the cluster. When you click on this will prompt you to give the details like a cluster name, and you have to choose like what is the size of the cluster, and what is the availability zone, a single availability zone or multiple availability zone you can select, and number of nodes, how many you want. So it will go and even prompt us. And also, if at all you want to load any sample data, you can directly click on the checkbox. After creating the cluster, it will also load the sample tables. There are some sample tables available. A database called a ticket database will be created with the tables. And once after you like configure this, you need to go and give the admin username. By default will be AWS user. Password you can give of your choice also. You can simply go and give manually add admin password. You can give your own password, and then need to select this particular like encryption key also to encrypt your data. And then finally you need to go and click on this create cluster, then it will create a cluster. So that is what you can see, whichever I created the cluster here. This is the cluster which I created just now, but this cluster is not publicly available, so I'm just making that publicly available. Now you need to go and turn on publicly accessible and save the changes. So now this will be available to access from other external SQL client tools also. So as soon as this is available, you can simply go and connect to this particular cluster either from this query editor, whatever you see, or you can connect from the other SQL clients also. So I will show you how to connect with DB Weaver. Let us first the cluster to be available, and where you need to go and select the query in the query editor. Take time because it is available now. I'm just selecting query editor here, and you can see here my Redshift specific query editor got opened here. And as of now, if you go up, let's close this. This is called a query editor in Redshift environment. Here we can go and create the tables and load the data, and we can do many operations here. As of now, we have not connected to any database. To connect to database, you can select connect database here, and you can use, this is my database name, it automatically connected. Can you see? Both of you? And you can see some sample tables also here. A sample table tables got created, a database like a dev database, and public schema, you got all the sample tables. These tables got created because we selected the checkbox load sample data. You can also go and see these tables data, so where you can go and select the data directly from these particular tables. And I want to go and see like how can we go and select the top 10 buyers by quantity. Then here I need to join two tables. One is like users table, sales table, and second one is like where you want to go and join with users. Yeah, users, and then I'm joining with the sales table. So I want to see the top 10 buyers by quantity. So to get the quantity, and what we are trying to do, we are selecting the buyer ID and the total quantity sold from the sales table, group by buyer ID, and order by quantity in the descending order, and we are limiting them to 10. And this query is going to give me the top 10 buyers, but we don't have their names. To get their names, we are adding users here and joining by a buyer ID which is equivalent to user ID, and we are pulling the first name, last name, and total quantity to see the data of the top 10 buyers from here. So I'm just going to run this, and we are using the sample tables, and we are trying to execute, and you can see the data here. This is the output. These are all the top 10 buyers, the first name, last name, and their total quantity. You can see in the descending order. And this is usually why we go and load the sample data is to test this environment. You can also try while creating the cluster, you please select the load sample data feature. And apart from this, we also can create our own tables also. So where I want to go and create some of the sample tables, we can create a database, we can create a table, and we can select that, insert the data, we can select the data also. For example, I want to create a database, create database name, and database will be created here. And I can create a table also. So my database is nothing but the demo database. So I'm just selecting that, and then a public schema available. I'm just creating a table now. So now I should have a table like EMP got created. Can you see? The EMP table with 3 columns got created now. And I'm just simply loading the data, one record into this table. So it got loaded. If I select the data, it should show me the loaded data directly here. So these are this is the like query which I executed, and this is the data which I loaded, a sample row, and you can simply select the data from the EMP table, and we can create our own databases, and I can go and create whatever tables I want in my database. All can be possible like a normal traditional SQL database. And apart from this, what if I want to go and create my own tables? We can also create our own tables also. To create that, we need to go and run some of the create table statements. So let me try to run some create table statements to create the users. So I just want to go and so there are some tables available which it is almost similar to the like SQL database. I'm just trying to create all these tables. So let me create all these tables one by one. So first I'm creating the part table. So I have a table with the name part here. You can see this got created just now. The part table, which contains some set of columns. Nothing but all these columns. Now I am creating the another table, supplier also, because we don't have any table with name supplier here. We have only few tables, and I'm creating a supplier table also. Parts we have created, and now I'm creating the supplier. Then I'll create a customer. So we got the necessary tables. I'm creating a data warehouse table called date table. So date dimension I'm creating. And finally, I'm creating a line order table, which is a table that will contain the line order information finally. Now, to load the data into these tables, we need to use a copy command. So a copy command is basically will help us to load the data into a Redshift table. So to load the data, we need to go and use a copy command. As of now, every table is empty now because they are a brand new table. So to load the data into this table, we need to file a copy into. But before that, to use this particular copy command, we need to have a role available. A Redshift role should be created. You can create a role on your own also. This role we will use to load the data into, for example, the part table is empty now. If I go back and select the data from the part table, you will see no data because this is a brand new table. Correct, right? We just created the table. So let me show you. It is empty now because we simply created just now. You see, this is empty now. There is no data at all because this is a brand new table. Let us see. There is no data at all. So I want to load the data into this table, which is a empty table. So to achieve that, I need to run this command. But before running this command, I need to have a role available. So let us try to see. And here my data it is showing there is some sample data should be available, but this bucket is not available in my location. So what I will do, I'll try to use a sample data location which S3 is providing. So let me try to use that. Here I go and use. Because I don't have the data. Let me try to create these tables also. We have the users table. Let me do one thing. Let me create the first table which I loaded here is the users table. So I will try to use let me go back here. To all these tables. I'm just getting all the tables. Okay, all exist. Okay, I'll just change this to users new. I think venue also is there. Yeah, I'll just give the name as menu new. I'm just trying to create all these tables. Let us see. All these tables you can see here. Every table got created. Category new, date new, event new. We also have like a listing new, and then we also have sales new and user new. All these tables got created. So now what we will do, we'll try to load into these tables one by one. How to load the data? So we can go and select the data from the each table. So how to select the data? I'll go and select from the users new first. This should be empty. You see here, this will be brand new table, so it will be empty. Now we'll try to load the data into this table. But to load the data again, as I mentioned, we need to have a role because we are trying to load the data from a S3 bucket, and I am trying to load into this table which is available in the Redshift database. So I need to use a role here. To use this role, we can use an existing role, or we can create a role in such a way like that role can help us to access the data from S3 bucket. So we need to create a new role. We can do that, and let me try to create this first, where I will change this to here. I need to change, and the file, this is a sample like a S3 bucket where we can get the data. But before that, I need to create a role and associate this role with the Redshift cluster. So first you have to do that. So I will go back here. I'll try to open a duplicate tab. Here, what I will do, I'll go back to IIM, or I can go to Redshift here. And if you observe here, there is no any like role associated with this cluster as of now. So you need to see like any role is associated with this cluster. If it is there, then you need to use that role. But as of now, I think there is no any role associated with this cluster. Here you can see how to like go and associate to associate a cluster to this a role to this cluster. We need to use the manage IAM roles. And here it will prompt you which role you want to go and associate. There are some roles available already where you can go and leverage, and the Redshift role is one particular role which you can go and associate. Click this and simply associate IAM role. So now it has been associated. Simply save the changes. Whenever you change, it will automatically change the status again. So we need to wait for the status to be available. Now I can go back to the Redshift query editor, and we need to use this particular cluster which we role which we associate with this cluster. So let me Redshift which role it is showing us. IAM roles. So we have role already available. So that role is basically will allow to access Redshift S3 database from Redshift S3 data from Redshift. So we have a role here which you can click here, and what we are trying to act using the policy here, Amazon S3 full access. So I want S3 to access Amazon Redshift to access Amazon S3 bucket. So I'm just trying to use this role. So I'll go and use this ARN, and I go back here, and I'll try to associate my copy into command with this particular role. So where I need to go? I need to go here, and I will change this to my role. So I'll simply go, if I go and run this command, so this command is going to load the file available in this particular source location, like S3 colon AWS sample data, sample DB US West 2, that ticket is the folder where your file is available with the name or users pipe.txt. So I'm going to run this command, and whenever I run this command, the data which is available in all users pipe.txt will be loaded into this particular table by leveraging this role, and in this region US West 2. So let us try to run this. So as of now, there is no data available in any tables because they are all brand new tables. So I'm just going to add this copy command, and this should go and load the data into this user's new table from this particular file. So let me try to run this. So once it is successfully will load, it will throw us a message that is loaded successfully. Then see it is completed. So now I can go back and see my users new should have the data. It's running now. Now it is loading. It is loading the data into the user's new table. And you can see here all this data got loaded. Can you see? Both of you? Yes or no?
Yes, Sri.
Yes, Sri.
49,990 rows got loaded. So which file it used? It used this file. All users pipe.txt file. It leveraged this role which we associate with the cluster. and in the region US West 2, the data is available, which is a 5 delimited file, and this file got loaded into this table. That is what, when you go back and share the data, you will see the data which we just loaded should be displayed, and this is, we are manually loading the data. We are not accessing the data. We are manually loading and then we are selecting the data. I hope that is clear. There is
Sri,
a hmm,
I think this will be done if it is like full load, I think, right? Sri?
correct. You are right. A full load will be done like this, and sometimes what will happen, we use external tables also. So external tables, which is basically will access the files directly from the S3 bucket, right? Where we go and not going to load anything using copy command. The data will be directly accessed from the S3 bucket, where the files are located in a folder. That also will fall under sometimes full load. Not like initially. Once after your data is loaded, and if I don't want to do any kind of data loading and all, then people go with the like external tables, and incremental load also we can do, but we need to see first full load is done. Full load should be done, then we can start performing the incremental loading on the same table, but for that we need to follow normal like incremental loading process. How full load is different from incremental load? The incremental data is nothing but the most recent data or CDC changes. Correct, right? That's change data capture.
Yeah.
And that usually in general we go and only will select the data that most recently got changed. Can we insert or delete or update, whatever it is? So based on our choice, your incremental load will happen, and that we will need to customize. I cannot go and directly load the incremental data as it is. I need to identify the rows which are required for incremental loading and load it. Correct, right? How can I get the incremental load data? For example, assume I am migrating data from a database, on-premise database to Redshift. I want to migrate that to incrementally. How can I load it? In general, I need to first export the data from Redshift to like a S3 bucket or some location, right? Yes or no? If at all I am doing that. If I am
Yeah.
incrementally loading the data from my MySQL database to like Redshift means, first I have to capture the incremental data from the MySQL database. If my data is available in on-premise, you can leverage a data migration service also. A data migration service can be connected, and it can extract the data into the S3 bucket as a CSV file or any kind of file. And once my data is in either CSV or JSON, then I can directly use a automate a copy into command, and copy command to load the data. But here we are manually running. But in general, we can automate this process also. But this is a full load. You are right. Whatever you are doing, this is a full load, and going forward, whatever you will do on user new should be incrementally. So all the commands, whatever you see here, all these are like tables which are empty now. I'm just trying to load the data. So if all I want to load the data to user when you new, I need to find out where my file is located and use the same role, and then use the file delimiter and all, and then I need to load it. For example, I want to load the data into this table. So we have a file location here where venue.pub.txt, which is the same. Only thing that I need to change here is my, just a minute, I need to change my role here. So I'll just change this role. This should load the data into the venue new table, and I run this copy command. This is also full load only. When I run this, it should perform a full load. So let me try to select the data. Now my data got loaded. Where you can see 3,998 rows got loaded. You can see here. If you want to see the data, you can directly click on the data here, or you can directly select the data from the table also. Both are okay. All the 3,000, like 4,000 rows approximately will now 4,021 rows you can see here. And you can export the data also back to any of this format. And if not you want to visualize, you can also visualize also. See, this is the data what you just loaded into the venue new table. And this is how you can go and directly like load the data using copy command. And you need to clearly mention where my file is located, the path, and also the credentials. Here we are using a AWS role. We are not using any credentials like username and password. A role is going to help us to load the data. To how to create a role? I need to go to the IAM service. In the IAM service, what I need to do? I need to go and create a role. To create a role, what I need to do? Click on roles, create role, and I need to select here S3. Keep S3 as it is. Go to next, and here I need to add S3 full access. This is what you have to do. Lakshmi, I hope you are following.
Yes, Srini.
We need to first create this role, and you need to use this. You have to create because I already have a role. That's why I'm using existing one. You can give any name here. You create some name, unique name. So already available is saying. And simply come down here and click on create role. So my role name is Redshift role S3. This is going to allow Redshift to access the data from S3 bucket location. Simply. It got created. You search here, you will see that role. And what you have to do? Copy this one, this role ARN. And you need to use that while loading. This place should be replaced with that ARN from your side also. Hope that is clear. I can use the new role also, whatever you create. But if you run with the new role, is it going to work now or no? If I use this new role in the place of the existing role while copying, will it work or not? My question, Rajesh. What I'm trying to say here, assume I want to use the same like copy command, want to load into category new. So what I need to do here? I need to go and replace this one, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
And I need to change this to category new, but will this work now? My question. When I run this. When I run this command, will it going to load the data into category new or no?
Yeah, it should load.
No, it will not, because we need to associate this role with the cluster. Are you getting?
It's not done.
It's not done, right? It's a new role which we just created. So to make this role to work and access this data, what we have to do? Need to
We need to associate.
associate. How to associate? Go to the
Same. We done earlier, right? Yeah.
same like that. So go to the Redshift, and here we have an option to select this, and we have an option to actions, and there is a IAM manage IAM roles here. Click this, and here you will have roles available which we just created. This role also should come here. I need to refresh, I think so. Not is coming, it should come here. So ARN we need to enter here. So let us try to copy this ARN. Not allowing. Give me a minute. Every time when you modify the cluster properties, it will try to reset and it will modify and you cannot access your cluster during that time. That is status modifying means you need to wait. So till it is status is available, you cannot access any of these properties. You can see here, all are disabled. You can see, right? These are all disabled when my cluster is got reset. Just need to wait. No, let's finish first time. Yeah, it is available now. Now I'll go back here and I'd like to see. No, it is not. You can see here the Redshift role is associated. Why is it not showing the new one? It's showing it. I don't know why it's not showing. Let me remove this also. See, without associate, if you don't associate, right, it will throw error. You understood, right? If you don't have any role associated with your cluster, and if you try to use that role while loading the data, it will throw error. You have not associated. So that is the reason I'm trying to associate my new role with this cluster. And let us try to see. Hmm. But when we go and run any like a data loading query, always keep in mind that should be associated. Okay. But you may not have sometimes the access to associate. You need to reach out the admin in general, and you need to have a particular role to be created, and they have to associate that role to the cluster. But you are not going to get access every time to do this. And if you are a senior data engineer, definitely will get access. If you are a newly joined member to the team, you need to depend upon someone who is already working there. But how to create these roles and all also not our responsibility. You need to reach out the like AWS admin to create this and then associate with the Redshift cluster, which they will provide us to use. And all these details should be provided by the team, and we need to use whatever they will provide. Hope you are following what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Because Redshift is the service which is a bit challenging and tricky because it uses compute and storage both. We need to pay for storage cost as well as compute cost. If you go to S3, you will only pay for storage cost. If you go to Lambda, you will only pay for the execution or compute. But in Redshift, what will happen? You have to pay for both. And Athena also will only pay for how much amount of data you are going to scan. The query will go and extract. But in Redshift, it is totally different from others. They will charge for both compute as well as storage together. So we should be very careful. Once you start using this Redshift cluster, once your job is done, always try to like pass it or terminate if you are not using it when you are using for your personal use. So because if you keep on running, it is chargeable. Just wait. Mm. And how can we access this particular database from outside also we'll see in the meanwhile. So to access this particular Redshift database from, for example, I want to access from DB Viewer. or any like client tools. Then we need to go to the DB Weaver. This is one of the universal database manager that will help to manage multiple databases in single tool. I hope you people are already familiar with this DB Weaver, right? Or did any time you used any tool like this?
Yes, Shri, I've used it.
You have used it, right? Okay, yeah. How about you, Lakshmi?
I never used it.
Okay, okay. Any other tools for connecting to the database which you used anytime? Did you use any database earlier?
RDB,
Ah,
Oracle,
ah,
RDBMS I used.
how you connected to Oracle? Using SQL Developer or any other tool?
SQL.
SQL Developer. Okay. Similar to that, this is also one tool.
Okay.
Whatever you see, this is also similar tool, but it will have multiple options. This is a universal. I can connect to any database here, like MySQL. You can see multiple databases here. A single tool. So for Redshift, I'll select this, click on next, and here I need to go and go with a URL. I'll just try to add, and then AWS user, and 1, 2, 3. And here I'll go back and see whether my AWS Redshift is up or not. Still, it is not up.
How much time it will take generally?
Generally, when you update, right, it will take hardly based on your data volume and also like uh, most of the times like max I think 5 minutes I think every time, because it has to go and configure some of the things in the background whenever you change. So since it is in the cloud environment, right, so it will go and set up some of the properties in the background, so it will take some time. That is why we will not get access to this kind of activities, because it is usually a time consuming process, so admins will take care of it. JDBC URL trying to use, I think. Let me go back here. I try it. JDBC URL here. And you try to say just a connection. In general, it will show error. Right, connected. Can you see what is saying? Connected, right? So okay, and then finish, and you will see a database which got created here, and you can go back and click on this, and you will see these are the databases, right, which we created already. Dev database, which you can see. Schema, public schema, and all the tables. Remember, we created all the tables, and you can see the size also, each table size. These are all the tables which we created, right? Category new, event new, date new, all these tables we created, if you remember. The user new also we only created. So we go back and use a table, and this is the data, and the table. So we'll try to select the data. Let us try to right click, generate SQL, select. Okay. SQL, and try to execute. You can see the data here. Can you see the data now? Yes or no? The same data, right, which we were able to see from the Redshift query editor, we are able to see from this particular DB viewer by simply connecting to Redshift using DB viewer. Now we can go back and see still running. And see, even it is like in the background, it is saying modifying, but we are able to access this from the client tools. But from here, you cannot access. The challenge is we cannot access from here, but we can access from the client tools. Correct, right? The query editor is not enabled here. So observe here, right hand side in the corner, the query editor is not enabled to like go and open the database and all from here. But the same database, I am able to connect from the client. Like for example, from the DB viewer. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Both of you.
Yes, Sri.
So that part we can do from the copy to command also can be executed from the DB viewer also. Copy command. I mean copy command, and I can load the data. I can select the data. I can insert. I can do many activities from the DB viewer Redshift editor also. So what you have to do once after your status is available, then you need to associate your role to this cluster and use that new role with your new data loading and all in general. Because once you associate your role to the cluster, and that role can be utilized for most of your data loading because the cluster will use that role to load the data every time. So why we need that role? To access the S3 bucket files from Redshift. That is very important because every service in AWS can be accessed from another service by using a role only. Without role, you cannot access. They are not going to use any credentials, but we use a role to access one service from another service. Clear? And this Redshift data can be accessed from Athena also. So to access from Athena, we can directly connect, but we need a role there also. Because Athena is a different service, Redshift is a different service. To access the data from Redshift data from Athena, we need to use some different role. Hope that is clear. Because Athena is a serverless query engine. Redshift is a serverless cloud database. And S3 is a serverless storage. And whatever you see, all these are serverless because they are all in the cloud. And every service has the charges will be different. So Redshift will charge according to the data you stored and data you are loading. So Athena will charge according to the amount of data your query is scanning. Like that. Is it clear? And what I want you to do is I will share the PPT as well as some of the scripts which you can work from the query editor here. And I'll share one document how to create these particular tables and load the data and try to load them. Will you do that?
Okay, Sri.
What you have to do? Create the cluster. And I will share a document for that also. How to create a cluster and how to create the tables and how to load the data. You can directly go and use the script and load and select and see whether data is successfully loaded or not. And also see how can you can create a new role and associate that role with the cluster also. That is important. Because the role itself is going to provide an access to the S3 bucket to Redshift. Yes or no? Rajesh?
Yes, sure.
I will share this, so please try to work on that, okay?
And Sri, I have one question.
Tell me.
Based on the query,
Hmm.
how can we identify whether it is a
Hmm.
fully loaded or incremental load?
Hey, incremental load basically is we are not going to do directly with copy command, right? So we need to segregate. we have to segregate that. We cannot directly load the data using copy command. Copy command basically we use for only full load only. Any incremental load, if at all you want to do, you need to automate the process. You need to identify what are the rows. First incremental rows, and incremental rows means yesterday I have 10,000 rows, today I got 1,000 new rows. I need to identify these 1,000 new rows and I need to load them into the table. That is incremental load. But full load
Yeah.
is all the 10,000 plus 1,000, 11,000 rows will be loaded. That is full load.
Yes.
Correct, right?
Yeah.
So that part we'll see anyway. Incremental load we'll see later, but first you try with the full load.
Okay.
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 So tomorrow also it is Redshift only, right? Shri?
Redshift, and I also show you Athena a little bit and how to integrate with
Okay.
Athena and Redshift together. Okay.
Okay. Okay. We'll discuss anything like distribution types also, or in Redshift?
Distribution keys you're talking
Yeah,
about.
type. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And EMR is completed, Shri,
see,
because in EMR I think
we will
how to
integrate.
connect.
We'll integrate, right? We'll integrate EMR and
Okay.
we'll try to see like how to integrate with different other services, and we'll see. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. Sure, Shri. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Sure.
No problem. Yeah.